Welcome to Majestic Pines Farm, now the home of the St. Paul Police Mounted Unit. It is a pleasure to have all of you here joining us to celebrate the retirement of Jett, a horse that has served the St. Paul Police Department for 14 years. The St. Paul Police Department Mounted Unit has been established since 1955, and it has served the citizens of St. Paul as a full-time and year-round unit. We have currently 6 officers that are in the unit, and we're very excited to get Moose into our ranks. Now I'm going to ask Officer Andy Lewis to come forward, and he is going to talk a little bit more about Jett's service in the department.
All right, if any of you have heard me talk before, you know that I can be winded, but there is a point eventually, so you might have to wait for that. But if you stay anywhere long enough, you get to be the person that knows the stories about everything. And I was here when we got Jett, and at that time, we were looking for a horse like we are now, in case anybody has one they want to put up. We're always looking. So we found out there was a horse down in Houston, the police department had, and it had what's called anhydrosis, which means it couldn't sweat. And so the theory was they wanted to donate to a department, another department, that could bring it up to where the temperatures are different than in Houston. This is here. And they could hopefully kickstart his system so he could get that taken care of. So when we went down to a training in New Orleans, and on the way back we stopped and picked him up in Houston. And right away, we went in and rode him in this round pen, and it was like got on him and expected him to buck in the rear and do all the things that our horses normally did. And he didn't do any of that stuff. What he did do was spin around perfectly in a circle, and he did all these amazing things, and that's because he was trained as a reiner. For some of you who don't know what that is, it's a horse that chases cattle, and is very mobile, and there's specific movements. So he's very highly trained, except Jett, when you see him come out here, he's very tall and lanky, and he was very clumsy. So he would fall when you'd spin him around, and so they couldn't use him, so they donated him to Houston. Well, I and the other officer, we looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we're stealing this horse because it's awesome. But the next day we showed up and they gave us this paperwork, and every officer had said on there they didn't like this horse. And some of them complained, if you ever see him drink, he sticks his tongue out. It takes him about 20 minutes to drink about a cup of water. And they ain't like waiting for that, especially a horse that can't sweat. He's got to drink a lot of water. So they were very frustrated with that. But I was thinking, if he's the bad horse you have, oh man, we got somewhere to go. So we brought him home. And unfortunately for Jett, when we left there, it was 85 degrees in the morning, and we pulled up here, it was like 30 degrees. And he didn't have a winter coat. He was shaking uncontrollably when we first got him up there. He's pretty miserable. So that was his welcome party for him. But right away, we could tell he was a horse he was the first good horse I ever rode. And of course, I was like, yeah, he's mine. And so we rode him quite a bit. And first experience I had with him, he'd never been in a winter before in the snow. And we were riding downtown at Dorothy Day, and the other guys were riding off, and I was like I do most times, I'm not paying attention. And pretty soon the horse realized, and I realized that we were by ourselves, and we turned, he fell and slipped in the snow. Well, we landed on our backs, my back, and he was on top of me, and if you ever had a 1,200-pound horse on you, I can tell you it didn't feel very good. But he was crawling and struggling to get up, and he got up a little bit, and we had these new saddles with these irons on them that would lock our boots into our irons, and none of us we're all too lazy to switch those out for the winter time, so we just kept them on there. And so my boot got locked there and I couldn't get off, so each time he fell up I would be upside down, and then he'd fall down and fall down, and we did it about 3 times, and I realized, well, if he gets up and he takes off, I'm not going to survive very well. So if any of you have seen the movie Outlaw Josie Wells, there's a part where they crawl and they pull the horse down by his neck and lay on his neck. And I did that, and he's such a good horse that as soon as I did that and started rubbing his face, he just laid quiet. And so that just set the stage for the way he was going to be the rest of the time we had him. I didn't have him very long because we had a grand old days, and we had a big fight break out, and I wanted a good horse, of course. I put the part-time people on the crappy horses, and we realized real quick that didn't go very well. And so after that point, we realized that from now on, this horse is going to be the one that trains people in. And so he's trained every officer that we've ever had since me, and he has been the one that everybody's wanted to ride. And he's always been the freshest officer has him, And so giving him up is a huge deal for us. Very huge deal. One of the things that came along with him was this skin disease and irritation that came from his prior stuff and followed him here. Well, we'd have to have the vet, Dr. Donna, come out and give him shots every season, and he would get these horrible abrasions and scratches. And you would have to stay on top of it all the time to keep him groomed, otherwise he would just get worse and worse. And after I got rid of him up to the point, I never thought that was being very good until Officer Mink came and she took him over. Once that happened, she was immaculately on him all the time. I mean, he went from looking beat up and scratched up all the time to looking like he didn't have any issues at all. And so that started a relationship that I don't think anybody here or that has had him has taken as good a care of him. And the good news is that she's adopted him. So now she has that, and she will maintain that. Okay, and that's a big responsibility, as you can imagine. But if you think about it, we said 14 years, but he was in Houston for a couple years before that. So he's spent almost his entire life as a police horse. And he didn't really complain much, ever. So that's a pretty big deal. And like I said, it took some tough shoes to fill his spot. And the horse that we have now coming in, day one, when you see him, you're going to see he's not an athlete. So he wasn't really exactly what we're used to, but he instantly, day one, is more loved by the public than any other horse that we ever had. He's super affectionate, he's super quiet, and it's like a huge thing for us, because that's one of the biggest things we have to worry about is getting people stepped on, getting people bit, and he's a horse that'd dive right in there and let kids crawl all over him, so that's huge for us. And he also doesn't seem to be too scared of too many things either, so that's even better. So if you can imagine, where are the Rutschows at today? Right here, the people that are donating him, they've not only donated one of their children already to the St. Paul Police Department, their son that's here now, he is working fire department. Now they've given another one of their family members to serve in our unit. So it's a huge thing. And right from the beginning, when we went out there and we met them, they treated us like family, and that's how it's been. So, I mean, those are the kind of connections and the kind of things we want to bring into our unit, because it starts us, and then, you know, hopefully 15 years from now, or whenever we decide we're going to get rid of Moose, then we'll have the same story about him coming in and with a new replacement. So that's basically it. Like I said, he's a great horse. He's a hard horse to lose. I mean, there's people here from our old barn that had taken care of him, and they'll tell you, anybody that ever came in contact with him loved him. In fact, there's a lady that used to come to the stables in Houston and give him mints, and she sent us mints in the mail every couple months for years afterwards. So that just tells you, you know, the kind of connection his horses. And one thing about this horse, like I said, he trained in a lot of officers. I've learned, and most of us will tell you, that these horses teach us a lot more than we ever teach them. And so, you know, it's made our unit better. And like I said, both these horses are huge contributors. And like I said, it's sad to see them go, but it's also good to see a new one come in that's going to be just as good.
And that concludes the ceremony. Now we welcome Moose to our ranks of the St. Paul Police Department. We ask both horses to stay in the arena. Chief Todd Axel, it's not present, but he has sent a certificate, and it says, St. Paul Police Department Certificate of Appreciation presented to Barbara and Craig Rutschow in acknowledgement of your donation of Jett to the St. Paul Police Mounted Patrol. So thank you very much. We also would like to have Officer Jen Mink. This is a recognition to the retirement of Jett in grateful acknowledgement of the honorable, faithful, and loyal service which has earned you the gratitude of the citizens of St. Paul and appreciation of the St. Paul Police Department, February 15, 2018. And we cannot give him flowers, but he gets carrots. Also, we have a certificate for Jen. That reads, St. Paul Police Department, hey, this is certificate of appreciation presented to Jen Mink in acknowledgement of your continued care of St. Paul Police Mount Jett in his retirement years. Well, welcome to the family of the St. Paul Police Department. Even Jett is retired, but he will always be a St. Paul police officer in our ranks. Now, we would like to invite you to have some refreshments upstairs. Also, we have some things if you are interested in purchasing. As you know, the St. Paul Mounted Foundation is here, and they are great supporters of what we do. And our newest thing for you is a challenge coin. So if you're interested, we have them up there. Please go ahead and join the celebration, and thank you very much for coming. Oh, one more thing.
One thing I forgot to mention is where Jett's accommodations are. Officer Christopher Hoyt has got him out at his house, and to give you an idea what the experience is like, is if you went to live at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, that's what it would be like. So that's where he's going to be at, and he'll be well taken care of too by that. So thank you.